Yeah.
The worst thing you can do, by the way, is get a small group size studio and then run an open group model. Don't do that.
No.
Well, I've seen people get 1,000 square foot and then put
Unlimited sessions.
just do a £35 a month membership you would an open gym.
Yeah.
And then they realize once they get to 50 members, no one's fitting in here.
7 at a time. Let's queue up outside, everyone.
It's just like madness. I'm like, what are you doing? Jake, welcome back, man.
It feels like it's been a long time. We're back.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be back. I just put on stories that we're back after you having some dad time.
Yes, indeed.
How's things with two?
Yeah. Well, I asked you this question, didn't I? Because obviously you've got two. And I've now got a little boy and a little girl. And I don't know where, maybe I was naive, but I thought kind of having a second child, maybe my worry and my anxiety when it comes to them and their health and all this type of thing is split between two, but I've just found out that it's just doubled.
Yeah.
So now there's a new ceiling to my stress and worry.
Also,
but I think that's just having kids, isn't it?
People tell you all the time. I hear that people say, two's just the same as one. Like, it's no different. Like blah blah blah. It's so much harder.
Yeah, it's like spinning plates.
Yeah. Like when you double something, it's always going to be harder.
Yeah, especially as a business owner as well. Like, because there's not really any clear boundaries as to when you work and you come home and it's family time. You know, everything is kind of like merged, and I find that's quite difficult, especially at the moment, obviously being so new to having two. But it just makes me laugh. The actual labor itself was very fast, like literally about an hour and a half from when my wife started going into labor. And I've just been laughing how like the journey to the hospital is the fastest it'll ever be. And the journey from the hospital back home is the slowest it's ever been. Like there's two opposite ends, because obviously you get in there trying to get there in time. And then when you come back, you've got like a tiny little hour-old baby in your back seat. And that's why obviously I took it very slow on the way home.
Yeah, nice. What was the conception like? He was about to answer
That's for another podcast.
Okay, cool. Right, let's stop boring people. But Jake's had 2 weeks off.
Yes, we're back.
We kept really strict with it. He's back now, and we're going to talk about the open gym today that we own, which is quite an interesting one because we talk a lot about studios because we have a few of those, and that's predominantly where we help our clients. But I want to talk about the open gym that we have.
Yeah, I mean, this is also the cool thing about January being, a fresh month to obviously the new year and all this type of thing. We found that actually the market tends to lean more towards open gyms in January than perhaps semi-private fitness studios, just from obviously comparing the data. And actually January was the biggest revenue month yet on record, right?
Yeah. So the gym's been growing, I think we're 43% month over month higher than last February in this Feb. And like last month, we were 25% up on last Jan. So we're growing month on month. And yeah, it was the highest revenue month ever in Jan, which is cool.
So I thought it'd be a good idea
to celebrate that.
To A, celebrate that, and B, just go through some of the lessons learned along the way. And so obviously, this is kind of, because you obviously have way more of an operational role in that business, along with your wife as well. So a lot of this is going to obviously come from you, and obviously I assist with a lot of the marketing and everything, which I can lean into. But yeah, we thought we'd lay out some lessons that we've learned, and for anyone who's looking to open up with this type of model, then obviously you can get ahead of the game.
Yeah, for context, people, we bought that gym in July 2019. So pretty much 6 years of ownership coming up too. And it's been a ride because obviously we bought it 7 months later. COVID hit. Mm-hmm. We had to shut for like pretty much a year.
Yep.
So that was a really difficult point. But we bought that gym. It had 66 members as like who had days of membership after the purchase date. So 66 today. It sits at I think the data come through
1,028 or
1,028. The data come through yesterday. So it's grown fairly substantially by over. 1,200%.
Yeah.
And it's been really good. But I want to talk about the lessons. And number one is design your gym like a smart business, not just a cool space. When you go into loads of open gyms, especially corporate gyms, kit is like almost touching each other. Mm. And that was something that we were quite smart about at the start. So to give you some context, when we jumped in there, it was like 90% men. and was known as quite a bodybuilder's gym.
Like grunting.
There are some quite stories about like, I think like before, this is like years and years ago, like a woman got like punched in the back.
Oh wow!
Like, so she was in my way. But it's quite a few stories like that. So we wanted to bring more females in, and kind of
turn it more into a community.
Exactly.
Gym,
get rid of a lot of those people that gave us that reputation. So we laid way more cardio in. We started to space stuff out. We're always investing in kit. There's like a good 1.5 meters between each machine, which is really important. There's like really like big walkways, big open spaces. And that's kind of what we did. So we kind of designated, I guess, dedicated areas for each thing. So cardio, it's got a big cardio section, dumbbells, big dumbbell section, rack section.
And also just to kind of like figure out what that experience looks like as a customer when they walk into the gym and how they then approach the equipment and who they get in the way of. Like there's that film, The Founder, obviously about Ray Kroc, the McDonald's owner, and how they just choreograph moving around in the kitchen. You kind of have to lay out your open gym like that in a way. And I think one thing that we've always said is when it comes to an open gym model, the value is in the space, right? It needs to be set up with, and actually optimized for the space. The value of a semi-private fitness studio is the values in the people. Yeah. Right? And you can tend to, with a semi-private studio, you can tend to move the people to a different space and the product would not really be disrupted too much. Whereas obviously with an open gym model, people come because of the equipment and because of the space and all this type of thing.
And we're always switching things around. Like we got things wrong before. Like once, this is a true story. A guy signed up and after like 10 days, he was within his 14-day, notice period, calling off period, whatever they call it. He cancelled his membership, wanted a refund. And we said like, hey, like, can we ask why you want a refund? He said, well, I'm on the competition rack, which is like a bench rack. And I have to travel like 5 yards to the nearest weight tree to get my plates. I was like, right. And he goes, I work really hard at work. I just don't want to have to travel to get my weights.
Like, no one should be walking 5 yards.
That is a true story. But in a way, he's obviously lazy and, see you later. But in a way, he's kind of right. Like everything needs to be set up correctly.
Yeah.
So plate weight trees in certain places that we've moved plate loaded machines closer to weight trees and so forth, just to make it easier for members to just, travel the least around the gym. And that stops congestion. You got to think about it as a roadmap.
Yeah, you absolutely have. And I think you kind of almost have to look at it like art in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you've got obviously that mezzanine floor at the gym as well, where we can look down and we can see everybody there. You can kind of see what patterns they move in and everything like that. And so I think number one is definitely create a space which is laid out in a smart way and not just trying to throw equipment in the nearest space.
Yeah. Number two, this makes me laugh when I look at this one, is budget more than you think for equipment maintenance. So I always laugh with founders who are opening open gyms because you see their P&L and you look at the costs, and then I just always burst out laughing because it is just so much more money than you think.
Usually there's just not anything in the P&L for equipment
maintenance. When I built the LiveFit P&L in 2019, right at the start, 9.5K in costs is what we had down. And that was like with one or two members of staff, but me and my partner, my wife, were doing a lot of those hours. Now, like our costs are easily 26 a month. So like our costs have trebled. And yes, we now have full-time staff. We're not there like operationally at all. We're just overseeing things, like marketing. We've obviously brought you on. You've been there a few years now and all of this stuff. But it's just so much more than you think. And equipment maintenance, even when you've got new kit, we've got pretty much new kit across the whole board. Certainly kit that's within kind of 2 or 3 years old. Every single, Jake, you've got the WhatsApp group. Well, every single week we get something which is broken and something that goes wrong. You have to replace a new set of dumbbells, which are £300 a pair. You have to.
It is I reckon crazy. On average, probably about 2 times a week, you'd say, is a reasonable estimate, isn't it, of how many times equipment gets reported as broken.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense when you think, again, like with an open gym model, you are trying to optimize for the most amount of members possible signed up for monthly recurring revenue, right? So when you got 1,028 people signed up, and let's just say on average they come maybe 2-3 times a week or whatever, maybe not that much when you try and estimate it across all members, but that's a lot of footfall that is going into the gym. A lot of people as well that maybe haven't necessarily been educated on how to use the equipment either.
Yeah.
So
you get a lot of people mistreat the equipment too.
Yeah.
And that's not everyone. Don't put everyone in the same
but even
basket
just sometimes like people just don't know how to do it, and they'll accidentally go into a cable machine and then accidentally, I don't know, like smack the weights down.
The other day, someone was pressing 50s, which is very heavy.
Yeah, Christ alive, yeah.
Got
How
to top of the chest press, obviously finished the set, took them wide, let them go, right? Yeah. So instead of like taking to knees and sitting up, you could do that in one go, or taking back to the chest and sitting up.
Do you know what I love
Took
doing?
them wide, and then he dropped them, and one of them bent, right? And the staff showed me that one of them had bent. And when you have a bent dumbbell, it's very, very difficult to lift because it just becomes imbalanced.
Yeah.
And I just looked at it and went, 650 quid.
Yeah.
Right there.
Just right. And again, like,
because you can't replace one.
No.
You have to replace the pair.
Why doesn't he just do what I do? I do this proper like martial arts routine when I've got dumbbells on my chest on the bench, and I just kind of flick my legs up and like stand up.
Yeah. Put them on your knees and use the force to get you up. Yeah. That's how you should do it.
Well, I feel
that's how the kings do it.
Yeah, exactly. I feel unstoppable when I do that.
But
anyway,
a few key points, like if you've planned £200 a month in your P&L, double it. It's probably near to 400, depending on how many members you have. We're probably looking at about £1,000 a month on new kit, new maintenance, things that just need to happen. What have I got here? Weekly maintenance checks. Make sure you have a staff checks every single bit of kit. Make sure you're always lubing kit up. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Get the Durex out and lube some kit up. Spare parts on hand all the time, especially cables. Like have like more cables on hand than you think.
Well, they are very complex pieces of machinery,
but they can be like cut to size as well.
Yeah.
So like having those on hand is really, really handy. And members notice when you broken equipment. So this is a small one, but really important. When you have a sign that says out of order against a sign that says out of order in brackets, part on its way. That is a huge shift in members' mentality.
Yeah.
So, because when someone says out of order and that's it, they think that's never going to be fixed ever.
At least there's an end point to it.
Yeah, and that's really, really helpful. So I know that's a really small thing, but we've found that that's really important. Cool. So that's that. Number 3, set rules and actually enforce them.
So
we're quite good at this across all the businesses.
I think again we've heard stories from open gym owners who, because obviously it's like how many members can we fit into the space? They might have started off their journey by just saying like, oh, all my mates and family, come along and, you'll give you discounted rates forever and all this type of thing. And suddenly then what happens 3 months down the line when your mate isn't your mate anymore and suddenly he's got a gym membership and you have to have that awkward conversation. And yes, obviously it's your business and you can operate it however you want, but especially when it comes to making decisions that affect everybody, I think the easiest thing to do, and we've learned that even just from running, our studios, is that when you make a rule, it has to be a rule that is applicable across the board and not set up individual rules for individual people, because that is the worst thing, because you become unstuck so quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have anything to say to that in terms of setting rules and actually enforcing them.
No, not really. I think you have to enforce the rules, and people try. Like we've had issues with like youth members because they can only come in at certain times, and trying to jump in, we've had to even ban. So because otherwise it's just you can't make things blurry.
No,
because otherwise when you're catering to so many, people talk and they'll go, oh, you let him or her.
Yeah.
And then you have a problem.
Yeah.
So we have very strict systems, very strict SOPs, very strict rules, and people follow them because they know they have to.
Hey, quick one from us. If you're enjoying this episode, you'll love our free weekly newsletter.
It's for current and aspiring studio owners who are looking for the latest growth hacks to sign up more members and keep them.
It's a quick 2-minute email covering the stuff we're testing in our own gyms.
So you'll be getting access to what's working today.
If you're interested, you can join 3,500 gym owners and go to thefitpreneur.com and subscribe.
That's thefitpreneur.com. Anyway, back to the episode.
Well, it becomes like a self-regulating culture when that happens, because everybody knows the rules. They can then enforce them. They can make sure everybody else is enforcing them as well, as opposed Opposed to, if you had this kind of culture where like you're making exceptions, then it just becomes really difficult to run.
Yeah, 100%. Jake, you can speak to this one.
Yeah, so running ads. So basically, I put here as point 4 is rotating offers to keep marketing fresh, and that basically just means not letting your ads fatigue. When it comes to running ads for an open gym, your market is generally broader because they're very sophisticated around what an open gym is, and it's kind of almost the first entry point for anybody who's looking to get fit and get healthy and all this type of thing is joining their local gym, right? So when you have a local radius and you're running offers for a gym, you just need to make sure that you're rotating them a lot. So at our fitness studios, for example, we run the same offer, 6-week challenge, really. And we do that probably for about 2 to 3 month cycles, and we just change up the ad creative. With an open gym, we're finding at the moment we need to rotate that offer at least maybe once a month. So the good news is that we now have 2 years worth of data to support what offers are successful and what aren't. And oftentimes as well, you have to allow for to acquire customers maybe at break even to then hopefully make it back in lifetime value. But some offers that we've run which have been successful for us have been literally as simple as a no joining fee. I know that sounds ridiculous. I think we offered a 7-day free trial once, 1 month, and then we offered a no joining fee the next month, and the no joining fee outperformed the 7-day free trial, which is mad to think that people are more inclined to sign up for an offer which is just saving 15 quid as opposed to getting a week of free gym membership.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of see what the market is responding to. And we just try to change up the creative as much as possible to allow it not to fatigue. And what's also really interesting with an open gym, obviously with LiveFit, it's got 1,028 or so members. But I think the actual population of Manningtree is, you probably know more than me in terms of how many people actually live in Manningtree.
It's small, but there's the area, about 15,000.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is that there are leads being generated every single day and sales being made every single day.
Yeah.
So what I think happens, and I had this conversation with your ops manager at the time, is I think when it comes to an open gym, people come back. It's like a revolving door.
Yeah.
So
it's reoccurring.
Yeah. So people will leave, and then 4 months later, or whatever, they feel like they need to pick up their fitness habit again, then they'll join again.
And that's why we have joining fees.
Yeah.
But just to give you some kudos to Jake here, in January, I think we had 65 people join on the ad itself. We had more than that join, but on the ad itself, and that ad was a £39.99 membership per month, obviously. But that ties people in for 12 months. So in new revenue from that, we took £2,599.35. But that's
that was new cash collected.
But the LTV over the year, because they're tied into 12 months, is 31k, just over 31k.
Just
so
from one
£600 of ads, 31k from the LTV. Obviously, we just go on the first month, but that's how much it is to the business. So pretty cool.
And I just think as well, like, it's understanding those numbers as well from a gym owner point of view. If you're running an open gym model, you have to be obsessed with lifetime value and churn.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know your metrics or numbers when it comes to those two figures, then you're not going to be able to predictably and consistently acquire new members. And we're having a conversation with some guys at the moment where obviously their cost per acquisition, because we're running ads, is as low as like £3.
Yeah.
And this is like, so they're making a profit on the front end, which is, unheard of for an open gym, but also they've got all that lifetime value attached to it. And they're like, how does these results compare to others? And I'm like, well, you're making a profit on day one that you can then refinance into acquiring more members.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty good going. So I think like, obviously that's important to remember is, you need to know your metrics, like we always talk about, not just your cost per lead or anything like that, but actual your cost per acquisition and your lifetime value and your churn to then be able to determine how well your marketing is performing. But like I said, change up your offers on a monthly basis and create new ad creative as well.
Yeah. Number 5, serve the 90%, not the 10%. This is really important and a huge issue with new gym owners, purely because a lot of the time they want to attract the people that like them, but the market's too small. So when we got to LiveFit, there was predominantly muscle-bound bodybuilders, and that's great. but we knew we weren't going to build a big gym with just those people. The market's too small. So we wanted to bring new people in, which means a lot of those people leave because, it's not like it was, and that's fine too. But as everything's gone on, you see this thing where, members are like, oh, can you get that machine? Or can you get that machine? Or, I don't want to, I want this to be like, we've had a guy, a CrossFitter, who's been a member for years, who now wants, racks and rigs and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm afraid that's not who we serve. And I know you're going to leave. And that's sad because you're a great lad, but that's just the way it has to be, because we have to serve the bigger market, the 90%, not just you at 10%. Yeah. So you got to stay true to your vision of what you're trying to build.
And that's also trying to, as much as possible, like taking yourself out of the equation too. So if you're a gym owner that loves CrossFit or is obsessed with functional training or high rocks or whatever, look at your market and actually see what they want, as opposed to what you want. And if you want to build something that you want, that's fine, but just be prepared that actually
it might not be a bigger business.
Exactly.
And if you want to go itch that high rock scratch, go do that at a gym yourself.
Yeah.
In your spare time. So you've still got that, but build a business which is actually scalable. Number 6, get serious about failed payments.
This happens a lot with open gyms.
Any one time we have around, this isn't actually that bad. I bet the numbers at like more commercial gyms are worse, but we have about 15 failed payments at any one time. But when you think about that, 15 failed payments, let's just say our average membership's £40 a month, right? 15 times 40. Any one time we have £600 a month failing. So really that's £600 down on your revenue. So one thing that we did, we actually made a big mistake at the start, right? We were new to this. In 2019, we were like, okay, what do we do for debt collecting? Like people are signed into contracts. We're going to have people just say, I don't want to pay that anymore. And it annoys me because obviously you don't with your electric at home or anything like that, do you? But gym apparently is not a thing that you can get away with it, blah, blah. And at the start, I employed a actual solicitor company and I sent bailiffs round to people's houses when they got to the point of like not responding to any emails. And we had a process, but I sent bailiffs round. And then I soon figured out that was costing a fortune.
Yeah, costing more than the money.
So I was like, let's stop doing that. There must be a better way.
Also, it's one of those things as well that can actually kind of damage your reputation in a way too. Because at the end of the day, this is a gym with 1,000, and this is how customers see it too, and your market sees it. A gym with over 1,000 members paying for somebody to go around somebody's house for 40 quid. Doesn't look great.
Exactly. It looks terrible, frankly. So we built a proper system and hired a proper company, and there is proper companies that do that, believe it or not. So what we do now is just to quickly take you through day 1. So this is after failed payment. Day 1, friendly email reminder. Day 3, follow-up email. Day 7, final warning. And we'd also throw phone calls in there too. And then day 14, account sent to collections. So we have a separate third party who then basically just jumps on them, emails and calls them every single day, like 5 times a day.
And it's also important to state as well that like when it comes to unique situations and stuff, there's also a level of empathy there.
Of course
when it comes to, when people physically just can't pay it.
Mate, in our T's and C's, we have like, look, people can cancel their membership if they move 20 miles away from the gym. If they have to go for an operation, we can pause. Like we're so lenient. Whereas a lot of these, especially big boys, aren't lenient at all.
No.
Like you signed up for something, you pay it.
You pay it, yeah.
And we've always not been like that. So we're pretty proud of the way we do things at the moment. It just means we have a really good system with good companies chasing. So there's no awkward conversations. If someone calls me and say, I've had this person email and call me and talk about my credit, and now I'm like, really sorry. Like we don't deal with this anymore. It's now there. Like
Which again,
we sent you 7 emails.
Protects your reputation as a company, a local business too, doesn't it? So cool. So that's kind of the 6 main points then, really. So we've got obviously number 1, design your gym like a smart business, not just a cool space. Number 2 is to budget more than you think for equipment maintenance. Get that lube out. Number 3 is to set rules and actually enforce them. 4 is rotate offers and keep marketing fresh. Number 5 is to serve the 90%, not the 10. And finally, number 6 is to get serious about failed payments and have a process that you undergo to ensure that you get paid on time.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is a little learning, I guess, over the years of building these things. It's much, much easier to build a small group personal training studio.
Well, we always say that.
Because like, you look at a break-even point of these businesses, a break-even point, when you've got 6K in costs of a small group personal training studio, kind of like we have here, is I guess like 25 members, right? A break-even point of, I do the quick maths here, but £26,000, which is the cost
Of
at
your
the open gym, of a £40 membership, it's 650 members. So you need to be a really, really good open gym to go find 650 members.
And not only that, there's just so much competition as well that, especially nowadays, it's got even more fierce, hasn't it? In terms of like these big corporate businesses who have gyms all over the globe,
who are just like private equity borrowing millions and millions of pounds,
who are happy not to make any. They're happy to make a loss for like 5 to 10 years, in order to actually kind of plant their flag in there. So I think as a local independent business who is trying to open up an open gym, I think it's incredibly difficult.
And you've got to think, like, one of the things that kind of set you apart from the whole market and from those big guys is building like a really awesome community. But that is really difficult when you hit that break-even point of 650 members. Impossible. Much.
And not only that, to be able to maintain a community of over 1,000 members and make sure that everybody there feels heard. It's really hard.
First 2 years, I knew everyone. And yes, I've taken a step back from operational standpoint because we have loads of people in there now. But now, like, it's really difficult for me to know names because there's just so many people. So you're going to lose that sense of community, and that's kind of what people put on.
But that's kind of your moat as an independent gym, isn't it?
Of course.
Because you can say, like, we offer something that the big gyms can't, and that's actual. We know your name, all this type of thing. So I think if you're sitting here right now listening to this or watching this on YouTube, I think, and you're thinking about opening up a gym or your own facility, I think just be really cautious about choosing the right model that you actually want to run. Because, like I said, we've outlined the pros and the cons. And yes, we've been able to be hugely successful with the open gym. But it all depends on what you actually want to get up and operate every single day and what's going to give you the lifestyle you want as well.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Cool.
Pretty happy. Cool.
Good to be back.
Yeah, hopefully everyone found that useful, especially if they're thinking about different models.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do, by the way, is get a small group size studio and then run an open group model. Don't do that.
No.
Well, I've seen people get 1,000 square foot and then put
unlimited sessions.
Just do a £35 a month membership you would in an open gym.
Yeah.
And then they realize once they get to 50 members, one's fitting in here.
7 at a time. Let's queue up outside, everyone.
It's just like madness. I'm like, what are you doing? So yeah, don't do that.
No.
They say kind of a unspoken rule is your gym at any one time should be able to take 10% of your membership.
Yeah.
At any one time. So 1,000 members, I should be able to take 100 people in that gym.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just mean the gym and the equipment. That means the parking.
Yeah.
And everything else that goes with it. Again, it's what makes open gym so hard. So
there you go.
So good luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go, guys. Jake, I think that's the pod.
That's it. See you later, guys.